Good evening and welcome to Beyond the Politics, our regular examination of the events happening right here in the Quinte region and the people who work so hard behind the scenes to make it all happen. I'm your host, Paul Martin. Joining me, as always, my co-host, columnist for the Belleville Intelligencer, Colin Mackay.
Thanks, Paul.
And our special guest for this first issue of September, President and CEO of Loyalist College, Dr. Marie Vaughan.
Hi, Paul. Hi, Colin. Nice to see you both.
Yes, nice to see you, and thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
You're no stranger to the Quinte region. We're going to get into the issues, what's going on now, what we're going to be looking forward to this fall, and what the last year and a half has been like. But first, talk about what brought you here, as we were talking beforehand, to take over this post in the fall of 2016.
Well, I was in Newfoundland and Labrador, and of course, post-secondary has been my whole career. And I had a headhunting firm that reached out to me, and of course I knew the region because, mainly at the time because of Trenton, because of 8 Wing. And as I started to look more deeply at the area, I was just fascinated. And of course, when I really got to know Loyalist, I just saw a remarkable place to be. And so I moved here in the fall of 2016, and my family followed that summer so that our daughter could finish grade 6 in Newfoundland, and I've been here now almost 5 years, and haven't regretted a moment. It's an amazing place to be. It's a wonderful community, and Loyalist College is a gem in terms of colleges right across Canada.
Now, was there anything here that reminded you of Newfoundland? Was there a feel? Was there something, or is it just completely different?
Well, it was my chance to be a come from away, really. I mean, that's a language that's used in Newfoundland, but it's an awful lot about the characteristics of this community. It was so welcoming, and people really reached out to get to know me and to welcome me to the community. And many characterize that about Newfoundland communities. And I would say that this whole region is very much the same. As well, being on the lake is huge, and being able to see across to Prince Edward County reminds me an awful lot of some of the bays and inlets in Newfoundland. It's just amazing, and I always want to be close to the water, and I'm not far from the water here. I'm not on the water.
Maritimers love being close to the water.
Close to the water. So it's an amazing place to be. And of course, the size of the community is amazing with a child. Our daughter just turned 16. It's an amazing place to be involved in activities. It's safe. There's wonderful schools. It's just a wonderful place for families and a wonderful place for us professionally.
So you had some time to get settled in, and then we'll start talking about issues right away. Of course, COVID happens. And this is something that you're not just dealing with in terms of what's coming up in just a week or so, and what is already happening already with preparations. But you've been dealing with it, at first reacting with almost no time to implement, and then planning for a year, and then dealing with the time off and making things up. So how challenging has COVID been as someone leading a post-secondary institution of this level of excellence?
Well, it's been exceptionally challenging because starting out, you would plan for the hour. Like you'd make plans and then you'd listen to government announcements and you'd go back and think, well, what was I thinking? And have to start again. But what I will say is that as challenging it has been, it's the culture of Loyalists that has made it so much easier. The faculty turned all these programs to remote within a week. It's the focus of the institution on student success. The faculty and the staff were so focused on making sure students had a successful year that they moved everything. They moved mountains. And that makes it so much easier to lead and to have to shift so frequently based on the changes that happen. When you have a community that's there with you and you're part of them, and we all did this together. And I can't think of a moment in time that in my career that in 18 months I've seen and felt an entire institution that's moving and shifting, all focused on making sure the student is successful, and more so too that the community is safe, because we've done a lot for the community.
Is it now starting, you were talking about it's pretty much virtual last year, so obviously this year you're going to start out pretty much in person, all in person? Can the students choose to go virtual, or is it is it a mix, I guess is what I'm asking? It's
a mix. There are some programs that are on campus, and in last fall, 65% of our programs had a part on campus, because if you're going to do welding, you need to be in a welding booth, right? Even in nursing and paramedics, you need to be in the simulation areas. So many of our programs had on-campus components even throughout the past year. We will see some continuation of hybrid, which is on campus combined with online learning. We'll see some that are fully online and some, not many, that are still remote.
So
Possibly because the students themselves are remote.
So when are you talking hybrid? Are you talking the students doing one at a time, or is the teacher doing hybrid and virtual at the same time? Because they do that in some elementary classes. The teacher actually has to do both.
No, what happens is the hybrid is intentional. The online is intentional for online,
Right.
and then the students come in for the use of equipment, specialized equipment, for what is intentionally driven for that purpose of teaching.
So it might be 2 days virtual and 3 days hands-on,
Right.
basically.
But the advantage for students this fall is we're saying we're 100% open. Because as we know, the student experience, particularly post-secondary, is way beyond the classroom. And so we are 100% open. Our varsity is back. Our recreation will be up and running. So we are 100% open to students.
So are the residences open as well?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
So kids are starting to come in already, or a
Yeah,
little early?
move-in day is the 5th, is this weekend. So we'll start to see students moving in. It's exciting. As you know, it's one of the most exciting times of the year. And I know we'll all be really energized next week when we start to see students back.
So without further ado, I will turn it over to Colin for Colin's Corner.
Well, Anne-Marie, these are fairly simple questions. So do you have a particular animal that you favor?
Well, you know what? I'm one of those families that got a pet during the pandemic. So we got our first dog. It's a corgi, and his name is Ollie. And he's certainly made an amazing contribution to our lives. And it's a lot of fun. And it's been an amazing experience. It's the first time for me to ever have a pet. My husband has had pets growing up, and my daughter, she did a PowerPoint presentation for us on how important it was for her to have a dog. So she broke us down, and so we have a wonderful little
So
corgi.
she convinced
She
you.
convinced us, yes.
All right, my second question would be, do you have a particular beverage that you prefer in the morning or afternoon or at night?
Depends on the time of day.
Like most of us.
I certainly love coffee. I confess I'm a Starbucks drinker, and so I do like coffee in the mornings and in the evenings. Well, this is a great place to be with the number of wineries and microbreweries. So I've really been taking advantage of learning and testing and finding out what this whole region has to offer, which is just amazing.
And my third question would be, do you have a particular car or make of car or truck that you prefer?
My husband will kill me for this. I really don't care much about cars. I have a black car, and if it's black, I'm okay.
As long as it gets you from A to B.
I like that color, but I'm not really caught up. My secret dream is to some point in my life have a convertible. I don't think that will ever happen till my daughter gets off the payroll, but my dream is to have one of those. But for me, as long as it's a driving car and it's safe and reliable, it's good with me.
And my last question for you, Anne-Marie, would be, do you have in the world, if you had a wish, what would you make people happy or something different or?
I've really been leaning into the whole area of equity, diversity, and inclusion. For me, it was previously really around women. I know what it is to be the only woman in the room. And for much of my career, that's what I've been. I was way ahead. I was president of my student government. I played a lot of roles that I was the only female in the room. So I've been a real advocate for women in education and a women in leadership. But my lens on this is really shifting and changing as well. And I really believe this is the time for true truth and reconciliation within this country.
So the native issue?
Indigenous issues for sure. And I really want Loyalist to be playing its part in ensuring that we have real truth and reconciliation. I think it's important for us to do that. It's important for our history. It's important for our children that are coming behind us. And it's very important for the growth and development of our whole country. And the time has come.
I don't think anybody's going to argue with you.
Yeah.
Is this a discussion that's underway now at Loyalist as we prepare for the fall?
Absolutely.
I mean, a lot of these revelations, though we've known about them in the global sense, the stark reality that hit home a few months ago has certainly put a renewed spotlight on this. What has that been like to discuss that in an academic environment?
Well, last fall we had the whole forum on racism, so that was a big part for us. We'll be doing a lot of activities around September 30th, which is the National Truth and Reconciliation. And our College Council, which is an advisory board to the President, we have given and asked them to take on the topic of equity, diversity, and inclusion over the next year. And that will be looking at all our policies and things that we need to do as a college community to ensure that we are a equitable, a diversity-focused, and inclusive place for anyone to be.
What is the message, we just have a couple minutes left, what is the message for students coming to Loyalist this fall that you'd like to get across? So for people who are both excited, but also concerned, who are hopeful but wary, how do you strike the right tone? What would you want them to know before they arrive on campus in the next few days?
Well, first, you made the right decision. Loyalist is an extremely caring institution. We know our students. We know them by name, and we really support and embrace them and their success. We have the highest graduate employment rate in Eastern Ontario, 6 months out of graduation. We have a 100% employer satisfaction rate, and we have the highest student satisfaction rate in Eastern Ontario.
Did you say 100%?
100%. Isn't that phenomenal?
That's
So you made the right decision. And what I can tell you is that we will put your safety and well-being ahead of everything. And so we will ensure that what we're delivering over the next year has within it the safety that you need, but also provides you the opportunity to learn and succeed and to grow, which is what post-secondary is all about, and take you on that pathway of that journey of where you want to go next.
And with the last 30 seconds, what do you hope they will get? What is the quintessential Loyalist experience?
It's that anyone can achieve their dreams. And when I start to get to know these students, everyone's dream is different. And every student is in a different place. A high school graduating student, an adult student, they're, someone who's in a second career, very different. And what I hope what they get is what they need. And that we are versatile, we're focused on them, and we shift and support to make sure they're successful.
This has been Beyond the Politics with Dr. Marie Vaughan of Loyalist College.